about 10, 12 years ago, I was married. It was my first marriage. And I remember coming home after a date. We'd gone to a movie. And we sat down and looked at each other and said, this isn't working. Over the next couple of weeks, months, we navigated a separation. It's not what either of us had hoped for. I grew up in a church that said divorce is wrong. I watched my families fight through relationships and stay together. And here I am sitting there looking across from the person I said I do to, and asking myself, and she's asking herself, should I stay or should I go? A year later, we formalized it. I remember that second conversation too. It's not easy. And you can replace wife with other family member, colleague, business, neighbor. You're looking at the relationship going, is there anything left here? Is this worth salvaging? Should I stay or should I go? The moments are even more complex if you grew up in a faith tradition that didn't really have good guidance on this. My tradition said it was black and white. You stay or you're bad. Really? I didn't realize, though, that for years, that weight, that decision, I kind of held it in a box in my mind. I never really looked at it because it just felt icky, felt gross. I didn't know what to do with it. Until the other day I was talking with Bryce. And all of a sudden I realized there's a way through this with much greater awareness, nuance, and a much greater ability to love than what I did. So I thought I could come up here and tell you the wisdom of Bryce. But it's better if I show you the wisdom of Bryce. Folks, let's give a big welcome to Bryce. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming up here today.
Oh, yeah. You know I love it up here.
Do you?
Yeah.
Really? This is scary up here. Every time look at all those people that are looking at us.
No, this is easy for me.
This is easy? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I am jealous.
Yeah.
Okay, so because they don't know Bryce other than just your first name, which is like Prince.
Yep.
Where'd you grow up?
Northern British Columbia. I was born in a town of like 3,000 people.
What's it called?
Houston. I was born in a trailer park. I'm trailer trash, technically.
I spent a summer in Houston.
Why?
I was tree planting.
Oh, yeah. They do need trees back.
It's worse in the camp, so Houston was a step up.
That's tough.
I spent a lot of time at the rec center in Houston.
It's all 40 square feet.
It's bigger than my car I was living in.
That's fair.
Okay, so tell us, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
For this one, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, of my weird family. Let's say one. Let's say I have one sibling.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just...
There's a whole backstory there.
Let's streamline. Yeah.
More than one, we're going to talk about one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What brought you from there to here?
Work. I'm the only person of my family, anybody in my family who is like left for like to kind of get out of the like northern BC. I work in a mill or like healthcare kind of thing. So there's no tech jobs in northern BC, so I had to like leave to sort of one of the tech hubs.
Okay.
And I did that like 11 years ago.
Are you still in contact with family?
I wasn't largely when I left anyways. I made like a lot of really hard decisions to kind of cut certain people out, and that was made in tandem, like with my therapist. But I talked to my brother, I talked to my grandfather, some aunts, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously the piece that we're missing here is parents.
Mm-hmm. You caught that, hey?
Smart that way, huh?
Wow.
Razor sharp. Can you say a little bit about that, or how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I mean, it's stuff that I've worked through very hard. I think it would have been really tough to talk about a while ago, or I would have trauma dumped for sport. And now we're in sort of a healthy
Trauma
place.
dump for sport.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not fun to be on the other side of, I've learned.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, my parents, I grew up in a really abusive household, categorically, most types of abuse, and done a lot of work to be at peace with that. I wouldn't say that I'm stoked about it, but I've at least gotten to that place where you're I'm happy with who I am and thus can accept what got me here. I think it's the closest a lot of people who come up in really what I would say is that didn't seem fair environments. You go, okay, well, I'm happy with who I am. So, I mean, I cut my father out, who I barely really knew anyways when I was 15 was his final shot. I was this is just not someone I need in my life, just in terms of being a role model, being consistent. I have an awareness of what a parent should be. And this person, he's not a bad guy, just so dumb and selfish and childish. So I was I just kind of don't need you to grow up healthy. And then my mother was more complicated, where it was mother is a very loaded thing. That connection is so strong, and we can see this in science experiments where it's if you take a baby chimp and then force a robot monkey to hurt it, it will still run back if it perceives it as a parent. I'm getting that science wrong, but it's the gist of it. That bond is so strong. Yeah. That connection
Powerful.
is really powerful. So that was always a really bad relationship. I don't go into too many details anymore, but she was the kind of mother that let a lot of men kind of come in and do a lot of terrible things to us throughout the years. And sort of she never suffered the consequence of that, and they didn't, but the kids did. And that's a tough thing. And so, even after that saga had ended, I kind of tried to reconcile and be I'd like some justice for this. I'd like to talk about this. I'd like there to be some accountability. And I think the thing is that when I realized there'd never be accountability, she was well, I just don't want to talk about it, or I don't think I remember that happening. And my grandma died about 10 years ago, just after I moved here. And one of her last things she said to me, along with call your grandpa, please. Still do.
Okay.
Still do.
You're a good man.
He's 87. He's got a new hip. He's crushing it. Was your mom's never going to admit what happened. That was one of her last pieces of wisdom to me. And so I had to decide, well, do I live with sitting at dinner with this person who pretends that this wasn't happening, that none of this happened, or do I go, that is so harmful I have to walk away? And I walked away. And it took a lot of tries. And I was always really confused looking back why it took so many tries.
The pull back,
the gravity of this hurts, the way you're behaving, I'm trying to tell you that one of the ways that you behaved was hurtful. It's affecting me now in adulthood. I want to talk about it because I'm going through therapy.
Right.
And I think it'd be healing in this 10-year therapy journey to talk, and this is how we can reconcile, but she wouldn't. And so I would kind of go, I don't want to talk to you. And then I'd get pulled back. It's Mother's Day and there's some reminder and you're oh, I don't know why I want a parent, but I do, and then, but eventually I think something 7 or 8 years ago, it was the final, I'm making the decision to cut this off. This is done, and that is the end.
So, and I want to dig in a little bit more, because in all of that, I think there's wisdom for all of us. But I just want to step back for a second. What I found fascinating was you still call her mother. You don't attack her. You don't put out billboards of here's the shitty thing she did. It's kind of mother. But
there's a word I don't use.
What's that?
I don't use the word mom on purpose. Those two words have different weight for me.
So
mother is a fact.
Biological.
Yeah, mother is a fact. Mom is a behavior in my brain. So, and I mean, I'm not going to break my grandpa's heart by being just calling her first name in conversations. I've tried to be please stop talking about her. And he'll be your mother the other day went to a garage sale. And I'm oh, that's so cool, Grandpa. thanks, man. How's the weather? So there's some peace I've had to make there. But to your point, I've had to find a way, like, I'm not going to constantly create a problem or nuke something.
That was the thing that was so fascinating to me as I listened to you. I was thinking, if I had gone through that, I would just kind of be like, done. And yet you still held mother, not mom. It's almost like you parsed out the relationship to these different layers, and you interacted with each layer a little bit differently. Now, you have a brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have one sibling. You have many more, but you have one.
One.
Full brother, half brother?
Oh, we'll just do this quick, because you've done this now. I have a brother that I was raised with. We're half brothers. We have different dads. We're only 2 years apart. But then there is this milieu of half siblings and step siblings. But when I say my brother, this is the one I was raised under the same roof of, largely, unless I was like in a different home or something.
So for him, there's a layer of brother.
Brother, the person I was raised with, and,
Right.
and we kind of in different ways like suffered together, saw the same things, did the same sports, like played the same video games against each other, lived in the same house.
So would you also apply to him the layer of family?
Yeah, he's my family for sure. Like just genetically, mathematically.
But not, so like mother is biological, mom is family, like something. Is he brother in behavior when you look at that layer?
Yeah, so this is the thing that has been really interesting to parse, is we weren't close growing up. And I don't know how this goes, but I would assume that children that live in really messy households, I would guess that they either turn into like the orphans from those mystery books that are like so close.
The unit.
Or, a unit, or they're like the Baudelaires. Is that the name of the kids from the books? Yeah. Yeah, I remembered. Good. Trivia night.
Nailed it.
Or like, I think ours was like we were really adversarial because we were kind of competing to like be the safest in a way, right? So I think that we didn't have a close relationship. We got closer in our 20s. But then it was actually when he got cancer at like 29, so it's like 8 years ago, something like that. And we actually got close. It was the first time we said "I love you" to each other, and then that brought us really close. And I think we had this moment of like, oof, okay, like that first scare of like maybe life is short and we should try. We should try to be close. I got really close with his wife. He had a son just before that, so then we kind of gelled into this family where I'd drive up they live in Prince George now, so it's like 9.5, 10 hours, depending on the weather, each way. I drove up like 60 times in the first 8 or 9 years I lived here.
Wow.
And, visited, stayed with them, built a relationship with my nephew, and then, really we were like brother, friends, close, group chat, me, him, and his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it went from raised in the same household level. And again, what he showed me is you can look at relationships through different levels. You can have a level of like mother, biological, but then you have another layer of mom, relational. You can have a layer of brother. In our family, we don't do this, but someone could say half brother is lesser than, but in your mind, it's like, okay, brother, but then also family. Like after his cancer journey, it was like that family layer really kicked in. It's like, oh man, if you're going down, I am there.
Yeah. I think that we like just realizing like, oh, there was some instinct that almost kicked in, and then some sense of like, I don't want to regret not knowing this person who just is somebody that I actually like and I get along with, but we just almost never learned how to be close with each other, and then we had to like do the work of learning.
So we have biological half brother, we have family, that cancer kicked in, but then we have the thing of like, friend, do I actually like you?
Hang out. Yeah, we do stuff. We have
recreational companionship layer. We have
same
confidant
hobbies.
layer.
Yeah, and then him and his wife and I, we would like have a group chat. We would kind of talk every day, just text like what was going on with our day, and that carried on for years, right?
Wow.
And that was just people to chat with, feel connected with.
How did that layer feel?
Really good. Like
not
very.
Just like I'm obligated because this is my brother, but like it felt like there was something like close. That layer.
For sure. Like close. I think it was like normalcy. Like this is kind of how these things normally go. And it was almost like for the first time in my life I could understand when people talked about family. I remember being a teenager when people were like, well, I'm going to go have dinner with my family, and be like, why would you want that? What about that is a good thing to happen?
Right.
And so it's really weird. Like I've had to learn that other people just see this stuff very differently,
and then like adjust. And so in that sense, I was like, oh, this is the thing people were talking about. You have like someone you get along with, or your family, they're there for you. You're close, it's easy, you can be yourself, you can be vulnerable, there's no cruelty, whatever that looks like a full-on, we are, I think, as close as two people can get in this sense without like, starting a business together or something.
Just so you know, it's a pretty utopian view of family, but I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Don't have that.
From the outside looking in.
It's magic.
Yeah.
But there's the layer again. Family to you is biological. It wasn't relational. When someone said we're getting to with my family, they probably were looking at it biological and also relational. Like we have good relation. I think that's what you're highlighting. And you're like, oh, I've never had that.
Yeah. It just didn't track like why, like that just didn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, because you've had to go through this upbringing that forced you to really be cognizant of the layers, when you look through your life, where else do those layers show up for you?
I think that figuring out which people in my life, what relationships are actually like healthy was like an interesting thing to figure out.
Okay.
Because I think that maybe it's muddy for everybody or murky, but I've been using this analogy, we talked about this, where it's like looking at the relationships in my life over the last year, where I've almost been in this like audit mode of like, I've started to pay attention to maybe I'm chasing relationships that shouldn't exist. And why am I doing that? I don't know, but I should explore it. Or I feel like I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater on something and I should think about it, maybe fix it. But it's just this idea of looking at my relationships of like, if there's a football field and there's a, 50-yard line in the middle and they go back down to 10 on each side, like, where are we standing? Are we kind of standing evenly? Are we both putting in the same effort? Because a relationship where both of us are only 10 yards from the end zone and going like, how's things? And they're like, great, here's a meme. And I'm like, I love that meme. See you next week. And Instagram messages, that's actually fair.
So this is like acquaintance.
That's an acquaintance. But then I think that there are times where I've actually like broken my own heart by being like, well, that's my coworker, and we see each other every day, and like I guess maybe my brain goes, we're friends, but then you stop working together, they disappear, you didn't think they would, and you're like, oh no, that is not, these layers are not as connective.
Coworker, not like close friend layer.
We were just physically close together 45 hours a week, and I thought that meant we were really close.
Right.
And I think that that's something I learned, and maybe that's normal for everybody, but like I think that I've had moments where I've been like, oh, I expected that person to kind of stick around. And then when it wasn't just convenient to be around, they weren't, because that just wasn't their priority. And that's okay.
Yeah, but it's, as you listen to Bryce talk, can you feel yourself starting to kind of like break relationships out into layers? And then realizing, oh, I have a certain expectation on a certain layer. Brother, reach out and check in on me. My dad, right now, my dad's really old. Can't remember how old he is. Like mid-80s, high 80s, somewhere in there. He's going through a divorce. He's moving. Dad used to be someone who checks in on you and parents you. Now dad is someone who needs to be taken care of, right? So the expectation, I've had to make a shift in my mind of going, dad doesn't mean what I thought it meant. I had dad, and then I also had someone who takes care of you. And now I've had to break those apart and go, okay, the expectation of taking care of me probably needs to be reassessed. Still my dad, still love him, still want to take care of him, but it's now shifted. So when I watched Bryce...
If I could pastor you for a second.
Please do. Pastor Bryce. Everyone, this is Pastor Bryce.
So you had a moment where something shifted in the way you interacted with your dad.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out that something had shifted, and did the time in between feel bad? Because I think that's kind of what we're pointing at here, right?
Yeah.
There was like a structural change in your relationship.
Yeah.
Where his capacity to do this thing for you died.
Yeah.
Or, it went away, and then you could have been like, oh, that should be how it is.
Right.
So how long does it take a genius Zen pastor to figure out that your dad is not your dad in the same way anymore?
I have no clue. I've never met a genius Zen pastor, so I have no clue what they would do. None whatsoever.
But did you have a moment of like, why aren't you being my dad anymore? Why aren't you calling?
And I even had a moment where it was, screw him.
Yeah.
Like, screw this. This isn't my son. This isn't right. And instead of just going, the layer needs to change, it was the relationship I need to get rid of. Like, you're done, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, you're not my dad anymore. Instead of going, well, no, there is still layers that I can hold on to, but there's other layers I'm going to have to reassess.
Yeah.
You had talked about, I hope it, someone whose name rhymes with Bryce once had a girlfriend and had to analyze this relationship. You talked a bit about that when you were sharing with me.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit about that? How you kind of went through that process and what it did?
Yeah, like looking back and being
Yeah.
like, Yeah, so I was with somebody for like a year, and there was a really tough point where I think we had a healthy relationship, and maybe the healthiest I'd ever had, and things were good, but I kind of was looking at where my life was going to go if I stayed on this path. And I felt like it was going to be very hard to be the type of person that I wanted to be if I stayed in this relationship. So while there was nothing wrong with this person, like good person, I felt good, they made me feel pretty good, the alignment with like my goals was so out of line.
What layer was where was it out of alignment? And what was-
Okay. So the idea was that I was with somebody who, like, I struggle with motivation to take care of myself. It's really easy for me to fall into patterns of like, I'm gonna like skip the gym. Like I had to set 5 alarms this morning to get to the gym before church. Like I was like, I'm gonna work out or else I'm gonna be extra grumpy. It's not easy for me to be the type of person that I want to be. Like I have to be in bed at 10, but I want to be in bed at 1 after I scroll for 3 hours. Like I fight against my own instincts a lot.
Right.
And so I was with somebody who actually had all the same bad habits as me, but actually felt like they were okay. And she said that. She's like, no, I think it's okay to scroll for like 3 hours a night. And I was like, but science. And so I was like, but Huberman. And she was like, I don't care about Andrew Huberman.
Who's that guy anyway?
Yeah,
Screw
right. And
him.
so
My
I
wife
was on
says
this
that too.
well, I want to be better than I am right now.
Okay.
And you're very happy with where we are. And I think the gravity of that was like, you're not doing anything wrong. And I'm actually kind of jealous that you like yourself so much that if you never improved, you'd feel good. But I was like, if I do not improve, I'm not going to feel good. And so I started feeling bad about myself. I was like, this isn't how frequently I should be working out. Like, I'm really like, we're ordering food 5 nights a week instead of doing meal prep. And like, no judgment to anyone who does that, but for me, like, I need to put these things in place. Like, I'm ADHD, I'm on the spectrum. Managing my adulthood and paying my mortgage and keeping my job, which I'm amazing at, is still work. Like, it takes planning. And that wasn't her thing. And so I went, if I stayed on this path, I know that I become the kind of person, very likely that at the end of my life, I go, what could I have been or done? And I may be settled. But as you can imagine, like, I describe this relationship as healthy, good, things were great on basically every layer.
Girlfriend layer,
Great.
skillful.
Yeah.
Person who loves me, skillful.
Yep.
Person who does their life and manages their life the same as me. That layer was the one that didn't work.
Yeah, there's the practical application of like somebody who is, I would just say, like somebody who's motivated to be their best self. Like, and I think the way you said this before was like partner in fitness, like partner in goals, or even just like not detractor accidentally in those things. And I just went, I have to leave that behind. And the thing that I've thought about a lot, and I'm at peace with this decision now, but the baby out with the bathwater thing was that after that relationship ended, once I got back to the gym, and it just started to feel better, like the distraction wasn't as there, it was a little bit easier. Like I'm still on that path, and even just recovering from that is taking me years, honestly, just to get back to where I want to be. But
Baby out with the bathwater.
But I was just like, should I have just worked harder and kept that relationship? And it took me a long time to be like, no, like this was the right decision. Like I made it with mentors, etc. But it happened really quick. I felt so bad about myself.
You have all these layers. Some of them are working great.
Yeah.
One of them is just really big.
Yeah.
When you were stuck in that layer, could you see the other layers, or were you like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that when you feel the worst about yourself is the fastest, is when we start throwing things out the fastest, at least in my experience. If I have a friend that bails on me 10 minutes before coffee and I'm having a great day, I'm like, my text back is like, oh, it's cool, like, I love you, you're the best, like, life happens.
Right.
If I have a friend that bails on me when I'm feeling terrible about myself, when I'm just in like a state of weakness, sadness, whatever, like, I'm not feeling my best, I go, well, I guess nobody cares I'm alive. And I want to text back, like, you're the worst, you know?
I sometimes go with, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm not evaluating objectively as being like, oh, this person is generally there for me.
Right.
Here's the evidence. I'm like, this feel bad, make feel bad also. And then I make a mistake, you know? And we throw away things that might have had longevity or been good because we were hurt.
What I'm trying to parse out is, have you noticed it's like, you have all these good layers, but you have one layer that's bad. It's not good. You have expectations, they're not meeting it, maybe they can't, we're not sure. But it's kind of like I almost can't see the other layers.
Yeah.
I'll notice this with my wife every once in a while. The wound in me is about being taken care of. And if I don't take care of myself well in that layer with my wife, sometimes I'll just say to her, can you tell me all the stuff you've done for me today? Because I can tell I'm so lost in that layer that I've lost all the other layers of our relationship. Mm-hmm. And she'll start, 2 lines in, and I'm like, okay, we're good, sorry. Yeah. It's like I could see the other layers all of a sudden. It's like, oh yeah, you did, oh yeah, you love, oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's like I get locked in that layer, and I think the whole relationship is gone or not healthy because that layer.
Sorry.
No, please.
Mine is affirmation, because you know that my core wound is like abandonment, right? And so I think I inevitably became a words of affirmation person. And I've noticed that if I have a partner that just doesn't just go without independently saying, I love you and just here's why. There's like this like narrowing of like
that layer.
Something feels really, really bad. And it took me so long to be aware of this that if I feel this narrowing powerlessness, like I'm mad, I want to throw this all away, I'm not seeing all the other layers, it's like what wound in me is screaming right now. Yeah. And it's making me not see everything, and I'm in like a powerless victim almost state. Yeah. Instead of saying, ooh, okay, hey, listen, I'm starting to notice that, could you tell me I'm a good boy? Right. But like in a cool, handsome way, you know? Be like...
Not in a weird way, but like in a really great way.
Hey, you're so good at organizing library books or whatever. I don't know what it is, but...
But even for you, there's probably a layer of attachment figure.
Oh, yeah.
For me, that's a big layer in my relationships. Yeah. I try and avoid it all I can, but it's there and it's loud. Yeah. Have you ever found yourself throwing away a relationship because that layer, something didn't feel good? The rest of the relationship was really great, but like they said I can't make it for coffee last second, and you were like, and we're done.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. Like, I think there are people who, I think that was really obvious. This is such a small scale thing, but I think that when I was younger and really hadn't done any work on this stuff, when I was like dating, if someone like changed plans, I'd just be like, well, the pattern is now we're 1 for 1 on bailing. And it's like, I just kind of wouldn't really give second chances. So I'd be like, if you're starting with this, let's just call it. There's nothing else, but I think that the wisdom there is to be like, well, if we want to, people are people, and we have to give them opportunities to prove that they're not all monsters. Right. And so, okay, that's okay. I won't hold this against you, but I'll maybe be aware, and then like let's just look at the next part as part of the data set versus just 1, because I have you're batting 0 and I'm hurt inside. On my core layer,
whatever else. Let's bring it back to your brother. You told me a bit about your brother has cancer. You're all in. But the relationship has kind of changed since then.
Yeah.
What layer has changed? Still brother.
Yeah.
What layer has changed?
So I would say that my brother and I aren't actually friends anymore in a way that was extremely heartbreaking to lose. And the logic of that is that his wife and I don't speak anymore. Okay. We have some really core, I think, sort of ideological differences. I think that not many people would disagree if I would say that she's like a very good person, but very, very difficult. And maybe if you get on your wrong side, you're kind of stuck there forever.
So let's talk whatever politics, whatever that kind of stuff. It's like that layer you guys are not.
She once met someone wearing a sweater she didn't like, and she calls him the sweater loser. So difficult, a little difficult, yeah. Okay. But it's political. It's how we move through the world.
So now you and your brother layer of friend is starting to change.
I mean, when I can't go stay there, I don't feel comfortable staying in a place where someone kind of openly is disrespectful to me and unkind. I don't, so I can't go visit. My relationship with my nephew is kind of difficult because
she still has a layer, like aunt, like
Yeah,
mother
yeah,
of my
she comes
nephew.
first as she should. Like it's his wife, she comes before me. So my relationship with my brother now is weird, but as much as I want to be really angry, like as I do, like when that shifted and I was like, I wanted to be like, do you not see how much of an asshole your wife is? Like why am I the one who's being punished? And I think that's like a really natural reaction. It's like I'm not wrong. So like why am I taking the L here? It's like very, very human. But I think just the wisdom of, well, all that's going to do is make this worse. Like, I'm not going to win this argument. This is his wife.
18-year-old you,
Yeah.
would you have just been like,
Oh, yeah, I would have, like, done that. I would have, like, talked trash, hoping a mutual family knew that I was in the right, like, done a
Right.
whole campaign. Like, I would have been politicking. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
against.
yeah, I would have been campaigning. And I think that now it's like, I don't want to make this worse. I think he's probably doing his best. This is probably awkward for him.
right?
He has a tendency to be Switzerland, to kind of keep the peace, and I think that's part of his trauma, right? He was raised in a chaotic house, and he learned how to just kind of disappear into the background,
Right.
while I was in kind of the foreground, like taking the brunt of it. Survival, right? So I think that I kind of see that now, and I go, okay, I want to know my nephew in the future when he's old enough to get his own phone and text me.
Right.
He likes me, but we just can't be close.
Okay.
Sometimes we're going to both have time and like play the same video game online, and he likes that. He, God bless his heart, he tries in his own weird way to be my family, but like he only calls me when he buys something cool and wants to tell me about it, and I love that.
This is your brother?
My brother, yeah. He's like, I bought a boat. It's from the 90s. It won't start. And I'm like, cool, man. That's so sweet. Thanks for calling me. But he wanted to call me. You know what I mean? Like in the same way my nephew wants to show me his Pokemon cards.
So as you navigate these things, you can now see these different layers.
Yeah.
The worst case, the worst of all of us, one layer goes bad, we throw the whole thing out.
Yeah.
How do you set a boundary on a layer or manage expectations, like without doing it to the whole thing? Like, how do you nuance that?
Yeah, I think that some of the best wisdom I've ever heard was Rob Bell did an episode of his podcast, and he just really focused on the word should, and it's just like should versus is. So this is such like a classic, like the Buddhist happiness gap, like of what you desire versus what is, and I just think that I try to just in a rational state be like, am I just gonna should this to death? Like, okay, my brother is not my buddy anymore. He's not texting me because he's not in a group chat with me and his wife, and so then he's less motivated to do that. And
Right.
he texts her when he has something happen during the day instead of me, and that's totally fair. So I think that all I can do in that is be like, okay, there is a core thing that people have to meet. It's like, am I being treated with like dignity?
Right.
Am I being treated with like respect? And I am. Like he's not cruel to me. He's just structurally had to kind of pull back
Right.
in a way that I wish wasn't the case, which means my brain's going, well, it should be different. Well, it's not though.
Yeah.
And I just have to look at it and go, okay, well, if I can accept this, is it okay? Like, is this healthy? And I think it is. And I'd rather keep it like this so that in the future, when these things shift again, maybe we can have something more.
You just, at risk of being a bit too vulnerable, I realized my dad never checked in on us. My mom did. And when my mom died, I just put that over to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I put that expectation on him.
And you did a should, and then you got mad at him for something he had no idea about.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, screw you, you're not being a good dad. And I'm like, no, I just should the crap out of you, didn't I? Wow.
And I
So-
think that we do that to people a lot.
Yeah. So, thank you. Thank you for the insight, Pastor Bryce.
Yeah, I'm really smart.
You are. That's why you're up here, not me talking about it, dude. So we have the expectation side of this. Let's snap it back to your sister-in-law. I don't want to try and villainize her, but let's for
Sure.
that character in your life. Now it's not, I have expectations of you, although there is. But now there's a protection portion of it. How do you put a boundary up on a layer without boundarying the whole thing, right? Like that's the baby out the bathwater. And thank you to Dave for giving us that language. How do you boundary a layer and still hold on to mother of my nephew, wife of my brother, good cook. I don't know if she's a good cook, but like.
Yeah, really good fajitas.
Okay. How do you boundary only a layer without boundarying the whole thing? That's what I struggle with too.
Yeah, for sure. I don't necessarily have a complete answer yet, but I think in this case, it's just like the only thing that I can do, I think at this point, is not make it worse, not be scorched earth. And I think the boundary I'm setting is almost with myself for being like, I need to set expectations properly.
Right.
I need to not expect this person to turn around and kind of get it and see my point and maybe reconnect. I think that my boundary is like, if this person was to start doing horrible things, to sort of like speak up, but it's just this weird Cold War of we're just not talking. I don't think there's like mutual respect there. And so I think until that changes, if something was to happen, I'd have to be like, hey, listen, like, could you not do this behavior? But there isn't really anything like that. If my brother was to tell me like, hey, listen, like, this thing is like being said about you in front of your nephew all the time, I'd be like, well, now I have to ask for it not to happen. But there really isn't anything to do.
Once you set those expectations, the boundaries get a little bit easier.
Yeah, the boundary of, I think boundaries come when there are expectations, right? Because I'm saying, well, if you want to call yourself my friend, like, I have a boundary of however we want to phrase it. Like, I need people to reach out to me with somewhat regularity, or else we're going to have to treat each other like acquaintances, whatever that is. But I don't have any wisdom for this case, because right now it just is what it is. And I think that's the only wisdom I have, is like, I can't change this. I can't do much about it.
When Bryce talked to me about this, about a month now, it's like I started to see all my relationships through those layers. And instead of seeing, dad, I saw father, someone who takes care of me, like all these different layers. And as I did that, it was like almost like I came in with like laser scalpel, like, oh, it's just this layer. There's all these goodness, like, there's all these beautiful things. But that layer is missing. Instead of holding a boundary, where I think what I did before is I wanted something on that layer, and when I didn't get it, I threw a boundary on the whole thing. And now I'm just going, okay, what's my expectation here? Friend, what does that mean? I'm even looking at other friends and thinking, what are their layers of me, and what are they looking for? The last thing I want you to talk about, because of your very traumatic upbringing, and because a good portion of your time you didn't have this layer of nuance, what's the cost of not seeing relationships through these layers? What do you see the cost being?
I just think there's a lot of things that were thrown away that didn't have to be. Yeah. And there's a lot of times that I stayed in things that were hurting me without realizing why.
So you had a layer that you loved, and a whole bunch of really shitty layers. Yeah. And you stayed for that one that you loved, and all the other ones was just like...
Yeah, and it just kind of breaks you apart. It hurts you. It makes you question who you are.
Right.
And then in the inverse, you keep trying to give things to people who don't actually want them. The very classic term is like codependence. You're trying to earn the love of people through action or whatever. And
their expectation is 10-yard line, and you're trying to go to the 50-yard line.
But I'm at 50, so you better walk up here.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? I'm giving you 50.
And you'll just break your own heart doing that. And I think that's what I did. I think I actually was the sole source of all of my relational hurt, just because I couldn't see these things that I was expecting of people as separate things, or couldn't see why. And I just went, well, friend means this to me. Thus, if you're saying we're friends, I'm expecting this of you, but there was never a discussion about what that word means to people.
Right.
And so you just kind of, you wind up breaking your own heart. You wind up saying things to people that you can maybe never take back because you were hurt.
Right.
You wind up, instead of having the chance to grow closer to somebody, writing them off, and maybe you could have figured it out and bonded. But I think it's just a lot of like loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the perfect place to end it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, my friend. Thank
Absolutely.
you for showing me the layers. Thank you for showing me my expectations.
Mm-hmm. And
thanks for giving me the nuance that I needed in all of them too.
Yeah.
Folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Oh, thank you. In your head about your relationships right now, I realized when I was thinking back to going through my divorce, there were layers that weren't working. But those layers made it all go away. When I watch people now who are divorced and they're still connected, it's like I can't even understand it. But they've been able to stay connected at different layers. could it be that as we explore our spiritual journey, that we look at our relationships through layers? Layers that are working, layers that are beautiful, and also layers that are not. And understand that one layer not working does not necessarily mean the whole is gone. But that one layer probably still needs to be addressed, either in terms of expectations or maybe boundaries. So may we love with the nuance of layers. And may we not throw the baby out with the bathwater and lose incredible relationships because of certain layers in what we want. Thank you, Bryce.